Reminder. This video has a total duration of 14 minutes and 16 seconds, showcasing the entire process of building a wooden house in the depths of the forest and camping in it over the next 2 years. If you're lying in bed unable to sleep, watching this will surely help you drift off to dreamland. Middle-aged Yorick, tired of the intrigues of the workplace, ventured into the depths of the forest with a backpack, planning to build a wooden house for a few days of peaceful living. He finally stopped in front of a clearing and set down his heavy backpack with a sharp tip. Yorick set off to collect the logs needed for construction. Fortunately, there were plenty of fallen tree trunks scattered nearby, making the search easy. After moving all the trunks to the clearing and arranging them neatly, Yorick lit a campfire and began carbonizing the logs. This way, when buried in the ground or in contact with the ground, they would be less prone to rot and deform. He then placed the processed logs parallel on the clearing as a solid base for the wooden house. To continue stacking the remaining logs, he had to notch the ends. Using a traditional rope structure, he ensured precise connections between the logs. He then drilled holes at the joints and hammered in wooden pegs for further reinforcement. After assembling the bottom frame, Yorick did not continue building the walls, but instead ventured into the nearby pine forest to collect a bundle of pine needles. He spread them evenly on the floor of the wooden house to isolate the moisture seeping up from the ground. Next, he selected several straight logs and trimmed the ends to create smooth cross-sections. Laying them horizontally on the bottom frame, a sturdy stonewood floor took shape. Now he didn't have to worry about getting muddy while stepping on it. After finishing the floor, Yorick lay down on it for a moment to catch his breath. After resting enough, he got up and continued to work on building the surrounding walls. He also intentionally left a space for the door. As the weather in the forest can change suddenly, to prevent rainwater from flooding the floor, he took out a rain tarp from his backpack and secured it around the tree trunks, creating a rain barrier for the cabin. When the walls reached half their height, he also left space for a window frame on one side of the wall. This would enhance indoor lighting, while allowing him to observe the movements outside. As the last log was placed, the walls reached the desired height. Yorick was still too busy to rest, and instead selected a few logs to start crafting the door for the wooden house. After some quiet work, a wooden door soon took shape, significantly enhancing his sense of security in the cabin. The seamless connection with the frame made it incredibly comfortable to look at. With the door installed, it was time to start building the roof. He first notched the top of the walls and hammered in logs for stability. Using this as a base, he positioned the central beam of the roof, which could bear weight comparable to a park's horizontal bar. Then he connected the remaining logs and bamboo roots in sequence. Fixing them along the direction of the beam completed the initial structure of the roof. Remembering that he would need to light a fire for warmth inside, Yorick intentionally left a flue on one side. He then found a hollow log and secured it above, ensuring it would not obstruct the flue while looking harmonious. Finally, he used the remaining logs to seal any gaps in the eaves that might let in drafts. At this point, the wooden house was ready for occupancy. However, a rain tarp still needed to be laid on the roof to withstand rain and snow. To improve insulation, Yorick planned to add a layer of straw, which would not only bring some life to the wooden house, but also act like a natural blanket, locking in the heat inside. Once the roof was properly finished, he constructed a single bed against the wall inside the house using logs. The 1.8-meter length was just enough for him to stretch out. Then he went to the door and assembled a window frame according to the reserved dimensions, which fit perfectly. As for the remaining moss, he decided to use it to fill the gaps between the walls, sealing all potential drafty spots tightly. After finishing these tasks, the sky had completely darkened. Yorick returned to the warm wooden house, lit the fireplace, and began preparing dinner. He welcomed his first night in the wooden house. A year later, when Yorick returned here, the wooden house still stood quietly in the forest, just as it was when he left. The moss on the roof had taken root and grown, allowing it to blend seamlessly into the forest. He pushed the door open and neatly arranged the supplies he had brought, planning to spend 2 days here. After settling in, Yorick got up and headed out, aiming for a nearby hidden water source. The spring water collected at the bottom of the well was clear and sweet, drinkable without filtration. He filled his water container, enough to meet his drinking needs for the next 2 days. Next, he searched the forest for some dry logs, swinging his axe to chop them into manageable pieces for burning. Neatly stacked in the corner, he saved them for warmth during the night. Once everything was ready, Yorick first laid down a fireproof mat on the ground to prevent sparks from igniting the wooden floor, then began assembling the portable fireplace. The temperature difference between day and night in the forest is extreme. Without heating tools, it could be quite uncomfortable. Once the fireplace was lit, the indoor temperature gradually rose, and the humidity was cleared away. After a brief rest, Yorick began to prepare his bed, first inflating the mattress. Then he laid down a thick blanket which felt particularly comfortable. Next, he stuffed the dry grass he had stored from last year into a cloth cover to make a simple pillow, ensuring a good night's sleep ahead. He then took the water kettle outside, filled it with spring water, and placed it on the fireplace to boil a pot of hot tea. During this time, he lit the candle by the bed and quietly admired the Van Gogh painting he had brought. After staring at it for a while, he thought to himself that the painting was indeed quite average. Before he knew it, the second day had arrived. Yorick got up early and decided to move the fireplace and small table outside to the clearing, enjoying a close encounter with nature alongside the gentle breeze of the forest. He then used the residual heat from the fireplace to fry an egg for breakfast. The weather in the forest can change suddenly. When light rain began to fall from the sky, Yorick had no choice but to pack up and return indoors, taking the opportunity to catch up on some rest. Time rewinds to last spring. Yorick spent a month building this wooden cabin in the woods. Now, nearly 2 years later, he returns with his dog to this familiar land, planning to spend 2 days away from the hustle and bustle. It is currently winter. The cold wind howls through the mountains. The first priority is to gather enough firewood. After all, in this icy world, firewood is essential for warmth and cooking. The huge logs need to be chopped into smaller pieces, making them easier to ignite and burn hotter. The dancing flames dispel the biting cold, and the temperature gradually rises. The originally chilly cabin becomes cozy. Yorick cuddles his tired dog by the fireplace. Not knowing how long it has been, the sky gradually darkens. He gets up to organize his bag and supplies. He then takes out a thermos, pours in some light spring water, and adds all the dried fruits he brought. Next, he places it on the fireplace to heat slowly, planning to brew a pot of fruit tea to warm himself. Just then, his dog suddenly wakes from its sleep, as if hearing a faint noise outside. Yorick doesn't dare to be careless. He immediately turns on the flashlight and goes outside with his dog, carefully searching around the cabin. After confirming there are no abnormalities, he returns. He closes the wooden door, isolating the unknown dangers lurking in the forest. To reward his dog's brave performance, Yorick cuts the beef he brought into small pieces for his dinner. The rest he uses to fry oil and make a pot of beef stew to satisfy his cravings. First, he adds seasonings to stir-fry for aroma, then cuts some vegetables to toss into the pot. As the stew simmers on low heat, the rich aroma of meat fills the entire cabin. After eating, he stands by the bed, looking at the wooden cabin illuminated by warm light, then turns to see his dog drowsily lying on the bed. The fatigue of recent days vanishes, and a sense of unprecedented tranquility and stability fills his heart. After a brief rest, he gets up and takes a blanket from the shelf, laying it on the hard bedboard. Then he pulls out a folded air mattress, manually inflates it, and finally lays down the blanket that has accompanied him since childhood, preparing for the night. Next, he sits on the edge of the bed and pours himself a cup of warm fruit tea. Then he crawls into his sleeping bag, listening to the crackling of firewood in the fireplace, feeling the continuous warmth. Even without electric blankets or underfloor heating, the heat from the fire is enough to warm the whole cabin. Before he knows it, it's the next day. When he opens the door, he finds that fine snowflakes have begun to fall in the woods. A hazy white layer covers the world. The first thing Yorick does after getting up is to chop firewood. The fire in the fireplace must not go out. It's essential for warmth in winter. After chopping the wood, Yorick sits on the steps in front of the door, playing with his dog for a while. The cold wind blows the snowflakes over, and both of them are freezing, so they quickly retreat back into the warm cabin. He first adds a few pieces of dry wood to the fireplace to make the flames burn brighter. He also boils a pot of scalding hot water to brew a cup of rich milk tea, warming his frozen body. With his body warmed up and his stomach empty, Yorick starts preparing breakfast for the day. Simple ingredients quickly emit an enticing aroma with the help of the fire. Both he and his dog eat to their heart's content. Then, unable to resist the loneliness, he goes outside into the icy world to play his favorite game of throwing the ball. After playing, Yorick suddenly remembers the little creatures in the forest. The ground is now covered with thick snow, making it difficult for the birds to find food. He quickly takes out the stored nuts and fills the hanging feeder outside. After finishing this, he feels relieved and returns to the warm cabin. Sitting around the fireplace, he peacefully takes a nap.